It's time again to evaluate the evaluators. Happy holidays, Line Golf Academy members and guests. Today we're going to take a look at a quick search term that I know you probably inputted at some point in your time. How to hit it further, or let's just say quick ways to hit it further in golf. And let's see what comes up. If you do like this, hit that like, share, and subscribe. But other than that, let's get going. Alright, quick ways to hit it further in golf. Let's see what comes up, and we're going to be looking at shorts today. And we could find some gems in here, but we could also find some bah humbugs. The first one, how to hit your driver farther in golf.
Well, who doesn't want to hit their driver farther? Let me show you a key concept. Here's the key. When the driver is farther behind your body, it is also farther from the golf ball. Golfers thrust towards the ball thinking they're going to hit it farther. They don't. They just shorten up the distance between club and ball. The longer you can keep it behind you, the more whip it will have coming down. This is a little drill for you. Picture some object I've highlighted with an impact bag. Make a couple of pumps, and through you go at a soft speed. Do yourself a favor. 10 minutes. Don't worry about solid contact. You'll help yourself.
Okay, so what can I say about that? For a quick tip, it makes sense. I mean, he's talking about numbers and where the shaft needs to be. However, the thing I want you to always look when you watch these things is always tell yourself, why? Why cannot I get in that position? Because that is the key issue with this. The only reason I say that is think about why the average amateurs tends to be steep. Most of the times, amateurs do not turn enough to deepen their hand position to allow them to drop that club down to be flatter. However, keep in mind that the flatter you become, the more rotation you need at impact to get that club head to move with the rotation. And then you have to look at how your tilting is also affected. So in theory, we need to try to shallow the shaft to get the ball to go further, but how and why is not addressed here. All right, next one, quick trick to hit solid and longer drives. Quick trick, I love quick tricks.
One of the biggest losses to your drives is where you hit it on the club face. The club is designed to hit longer drives from the top of the club face here, and actually favors hitting it out of the toe. Too many of you are hitting your drivers out of the heel. You're setting up with your driver right behind the ball. During the swing, because we're going on the upswing, as we actually strike it, we're hitting the driver in the worst possible spot. I want you to actually set up your driver as if you're going to hit it out of the toe of the club and moving it back just about an inch or so behind the ball. If we start it out the middle, we're pulling across this way, we're going to get that glancing blow out of the heel. So set up out of the toe and an inch behind the ball, and I wager you're going to be hitting the center of the club face a lot more frequently.
One of the reasons that I have seen students hit off the heel is not necessarily their path as much as the club face being open. Think about it. If your club face is open, most of the time, even if your path is correct, if the club face is open, you're going to make contact with the heel because that is what's leading into the golf ball. Now, hitting it off the heel does reduce your launch angle typically, increase the spin, and also lowers the smash factor significantly. So anything to help you hit it off the center of the club face, you will definitely see some increase. You might see 20, 30, maybe even 40 yards of distance gain if you are one of those that hit off the severe heel. Now, if you were to try this and it gave you a consistent result and you can see your increase of distance, keep doing it. But if you notice after a few rounds that does not work anymore, either you're regressing your ball position or there's something deeper in your swings. For the sake of a quick fix to hit it further, yes, I think this is a good tip. So here's a good claim. Easily hit your drives over 300 yards easily. Now keep in mind, the average scratch handicapper hits it 250. So let's take a look at what he says.
If you want to easily hit your drives over 300 yards, follow these tips. Play the ball up by the big toe of your left foot. Bump your left hip and knee targetwards to create a little bit of a side tilt. Make sure that your shoulder line is either square or slightly overdone upper deck in right field to encourage the club to attack upwards from the inside. Then just simply make sure you are swatting that club free for speed. Then just simply put it all together. and you're going to get yourself a whole lot of 300-yard drives.
All right, 311. I wonder why that's circled. I don't know if they circle this, or maybe this was already pre-recorded. You picked this up, whatever it is. Spin rate's 1910. Land is 281, and he rolled at about 30 yards. I can't quite say. I see 164.3, which looks like the ball speed. Probably is a smash factor, but it's hard to see. How do I rate this video? Okay, so this is the thing I want you to be careful of, is he is addressing inside out, flatter, and we're trying to manipulate some of this with our ball position, pulling the shoulder back, adding the tilt. Now, you just got to be very careful of where that ball position is in relation to the tilt, because if you start pushing that ball position further left, like he wants you to do, your path is actually going to be swinging left as you strike it, depending on your tilting, depending on your angle retention, and your sequencing as you follow through, which could all of a sudden give you a path left, which could maybe start to rob you of distance. But bottom line, he does hit the three areas that you do kind of look for when you want the shaft to emulate what the Tour Pros do, but I wouldn't go ahead and say it's easily 300. Nothing about this is easy. In fact, that setup can almost promote the swing to be a little bit more difficult for somebody that does not know how to use that setup. So good tip, bet there is some caution to the wind. Okay, let's take a look at how to hit longer drives. Gain 20 yards.
If you want to hit longer drives.
This move can help promote more of this move, which can help create more ball speed, and there's your longer drives.
Basically, what I gather from that is he wants you to try and lift your left heel to allow the turn, which will then get you more distance. Now, turn doesn't necessarily get you more distance right away, because it depends on how your hands disconnect from that power source by enacting more turn. Now, if somebody is not used to turning a lot and all of a sudden they lift that left foot up to turn, you might start to flatten your shoulder tilt, and that creates another issue with your hand path. So yes, in theory, you could hit the ball further, but how consistent and reliable will that change be? Theoretically, it's a good tip. Would I apply to somebody? Not necessarily, without knowing the current path and the face angle at impact relative to the target. You first need to know that, and then we can start to change based on your body mechanics. All right, how to hit a draw and add distance.
Simplest way to hit a draw with your driver. Do you want more distance?
Yes.
So many amateur golfers think they have to stand and aim far right, with a closed club face to hit a draw. This causes a duck hook or a pull draw. Instead, try this. Set up slightly right off your target line and add a tilt to the spine angle. This helps drop the club in the right slot, helping that inter-out swing path, which causes a nice draw. You will start to notice how much easier it is to create an inter-out swing path once you add a tilt. But make sure you keep this posture throughout the swing. So many amateur golfers will stand dead straight, like this, with no spine tilt. This encourages you to throw the club over the top, causing a slice. Notice how my swing is very over the top, steep, when I stand straight like this. Finally, feel like the trail shoulder drops down. This helps create a nice shallow swing. Be confident and you'll start to hit perfect draws. Like for more tips.
Okay, so we talked about setup. We didn't necessarily talk about ball position related to that setup. I did see his ball position move significantly out towards his left side because of the increased tilt. So as long as you make those two adjustments, that would work for you. But then you have to learn how to stay in your posture with that new tilt, and your sequencing is going to change too. And I do like the fact that he said most amateurs do this, most amateurs do that, to kind of give you an idea of what to look for in your swing. I would say that's a pretty decent tip. All right, here we go. Hit your golf ball farther, adding hand speed at the right time. Now, this is cool because I actually talked about hand speed the last couple of videos, so let's take a look at what he says.
Squish your glove to hit your ball farther without adding effort. Put a glove under your lead armpit. In the downswing, feel like the pressure between your lead arm and your chest increases to squish your glove. At the bottom, your ribcage will spring your arm off the chest, adding hand speed at the right time.
That to me sounded like he wanted to promote disconnection during the weight distribution at the top of the swing. So basically what he is saying is he wants your hands and arms to separate from your chest as you turn by keeping them back and squishing that glove under the left arm. And then right at the very end, they're going to bounce back and get out in front. That to me sounds very timing oriented. And it's a little concerning because that's where most people do anyway. Most amateurs are so disconnected. Why would you want to promote more disconnection without knowing the sequencing of the student? I wish that they would just put some disclaimer at the bottom saying, before you try this, consult with your pro to see if this is a good idea. All of these should have some sort of thing on there, and I wish we could make it mandatory for them to say sequencing is so individual based on setup and then based on your first move back and how flexible you are and how strong you are and the hand speed. If you have a hand speed that activates quicker at impact and you have to release that angle, the hand speed will slow down as you release it. So it's kind of counterintuitive because they do slow down at impact. I would much rather have the student be connected and strike the ball more with the power source, which is the body, and just have the hands right along with that. Disconnect and reconnect and flick. I'm not too much of a fan of this one. I would not suggest doing this. Okay, how to hit the ball farther. Okay, I'm not quite sure what they want us to do. Put a club on your shoulders and enact that turn. And then what happens at the top of the swing? They get that drive, I see. So they're having you turn as much as you can and stack on the left side, weight distribute, and get through. So yeah, I guess you could add distance this way, but are you capable of doing this? Anybody who wants to hit it further is probably a little later in their life. I don't see them getting these turn numbers that these two can get who are young and flexible and strong. In theory, it does work. I have done something similar to this with the students that I know that it can help based on their body mechanics and their range of motion. Would I suggest this? Give it a try. But again, I'd be asking my coach or my pro, hey, I saw this. What do you think of it? Give me your feedback. Do you think it might work for me? Other than that, I'd skip this one. All right, let's see who's next.
Are you fed up of hitting your drives just far too short, playing with friends, getting out-driven? Many golfers are losing distance because they take far too long to start their swing, so take the club away from the ball and just make a backswing. When we look at pros compared to amateurs, we see pros are far quicker into the early stages of their backswing, where amateurs take way too long, which gets the order of the energies which you want to get out into the ball down at the bottom all completely wrong, with most amateurs using speeds in places where it's just not needed. Use this drill to increase the speed of your takeaway. Simply place the club out in front of you and just whip it back as fast as you can into that backswing, which will then allow it to slow into the completion of the backswing, which then allows you to pick up speed into the downswing. And believe it or not, with your hands, they need to be slowing down around hip height so the club can speed up into hitting the ball. Forget low and slow. It's a complete myth. And follow for more golf swing tips.
Okay, so he's talking about sequencing, and when you start to mess with people sequencing, yes, I can see how it can help you hinge the club different times, promote more turn. However, when you start whipping the club back, most of us do it with our hands and arms, and that could turn suffer some rotation. So I would prefer, if he said move anything fast, is turn faster as you take that club back, because the more you can turn faster, at least you're going to move your hands with the turn and you're going to keep things somewhat connected. But I can just see the amateurs out there saying, oh, I've got to get that club head fast, and they do this already and they just pull their hands back and they have no turn, and there comes some pretty severe path plane issues as well as club face issues at the top. I kind of understand what he's saying with controlling your sequencing, but we all have a DNA sequencing in us. Some of us just have slower tempos. Some of us just are faster. Doesn't necessarily mean one is right or wrong. I don't know. I'd say give it a try, but make sure you do it more with the body turn. Let's see who's next. All right, how to hit a driver solid every time. It doesn't say further or anything, but solid, I guess, means further. Let's take a look.
Too much chaos in this hitting area. Yeah, I see people, they're trying to hit up, so they go this way. Yeah. Or I also see a lot of pop fly city. Pop fly. So this will just help you get nice and sort of shallow through this hitting area. And the up part can be more creative with our ball position and setup. Yeah, and you might even make just a little rehearsal swing straight over the top of the ball. Yeah. Just to feel it level, and then just clip it off the tee just gently.
Okay, so he's talking about people that try to hit it up or come back across it and get very steep. A lot of this is turn-based. At the top of the swing, if your arms aren't deep enough, there's not much you can do unless you have a severe reroute like Jim Furyk and then turn through. Most of us just start our turn from at the top. So if you only get 50 degrees of shoulder turn, which is pretty low, but if you only get 50 degrees of shoulder turn, the hands either have to move back and now they're so disconnected that there's not much they can do, so they come on back around with that turn. But the thing that I heard him say that people try to hit up on it most of the time is because that ball position is incorrect. They've shifted the weight incorrectly and they have to fall back to try and swing up on it, or they are playing the wrong shaft or wrong angle of the club. They're playing too low lofted of a driver, so they actually fall back to try and add loss. So you have to figure out why you're doing all these changes before you just go and try some simple thing like this. Would I try this? Not really, because I just don't know if it's for me, and neither should you. This is a very, very blanket swing tip, and it's only applicable to a very small portion that fall directly in the needs of what the student he's trying to explain to. All right, we're going to do a couple more. Let's see. Distance improving drill. Ooh, look, he's swinging with a flag. Let's take a look.
Hold down. Yep. Down and up. Round. Quick as you can back. Explode up. Yes, sir.
All right, so obviously for the reasons you can see with that one, definitely some speed training involved. I don't know if I would suggest any of this for anybody unless you have already started small. I wouldn't go out there and start throwing bowling balls down on the ground or swinging the flag from the third green as hard as you can back and getting in these exaggerated positions unless you've worked your way up to that. If you want to start small, go ahead and try this. I'm a huge advocate of weight training for the golf swing, specifically as you get a little bit older. You need to keep your body in somewhat shape and get it more flexible. So I do like this, believe it or not, but I just don't like how it's so exaggerated right off the bat. And most of us watching this are couch potatoes and are saying, hey, what's the quickest way I can do this without doing any work or effort? Oh, let me just go and try this. Let me go to the bowling alley, get the 10-pound bowling ball, start throwing it down as hard as I can. Hey, man, that's just going to be a recipe for some other injuries that is going to prohibit you from playing the game of golf. So I'd stay away from that, or at least build up slower. Okay, let's try one more here. How to hit the ball longer with driver.
So we all know getting that full shoulder turn in the backswing is really important to help get some power and some distance on your golf shots. But some of us don't actually achieve it. So I want you to think in a different way here. Let's think a little bit more about the hips as opposed to the shoulders, because if we increase some hip rotation, that will enable us to create some more shoulder rotation. Now, if you feel you've got some limitations in your body and struggling to get some rotation, don't be scared of lifting this lead heel off the floor through this backswing. Let that come off the floor. That'll give you a little bit more range of movement through the hips, and then that in turn will give you a little bit more shoulder rotation. So let's think about the hips. Big turn with the hips. Maybe let that lead foot just come off the ground. And that'll help you to get some bigger turns, more power, hopefully more distance to your shots.
All right. I like this one because he identified that most of these tips don't identify is maybe the separation between your shoulders and your hips are not quite adequate enough to get the shoulder turn while you're restricting your hips. So go ahead and get those hips involved. That will definitely help the shoulder turn, which is key. So you're making adjustments just to help the end all of your shoulders. I also like the fact that it said, hey, look, if you're still not flexible, it's okay to lift this left foot up. There's no wrong or right way. We got to try and find a way to build this into your swing. So I think out of all of these tips, this one was by far the best because, hey, look, this is a suggestion. This is what I think can help you do this. You can get your hips more involved. Contrary to belief, you can get your left foot up in the air to allow you to get more turn, which is definitely going to help you. So there's no exaggerated movement. You don't see any crazy positions that you have to try and duplicate. We're not throwing bowling balls. We're just going with simple, small changes to help your motion, which is great. So I hope that helps you. If you do like this, hit that like, share, subscribe. Happy holidays once again. I'm gonna try and get one more video out tomorrow, and then I don't know if I'm going live this Sunday, but if you have a video, send it to me anyway, because if we don't go this Sunday, we'll go next Sunday. Hope that helps you. Enjoy the rest of your holiday week. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Fairways and greens.